Identification of concern sheet about Bobby. Could you tell me a little bit about Bobby and why you're concerned about him? What are the things that he's struggling with at the moment?
He just struggles to follow sometimes basic instructions and just follow the structure of the lesson. Even when he does have like a laminated task sheet in front of him that's even got images next to it, just glue, write the date, glue in, etc. Sometimes you have to remind him, look what's next on here. His attendance isn't great, and more recently he has been coming in on time, but he is often late, and I wonder whether again that kind of sets him off at the start of the day. So it takes him a while just to get into sync of the lesson. But also, even when there's an example on the board and it's broken down, and the rest of the children that are on stage 4 are coping with how I'm kind of laying it out on the board, and yet he isn't. When you come to him in his book, it's just not working for him. Then some of the difficulties that he's having, so that we're really clear about that. And then can you talk through with me some of the things that you've tried? So what I'm understanding is that he's struggling with following instructions. He's not remembering the sequence of instructions, so then that's affecting his ability to work independently in the classroom. He's struggling to construct even simple sentences correctly with correct grammar. Even when we say it out loud as well, because we do a lot of practice of say before we write, and even when he says something aloud, I help him correct it aloud before he writes. So I'll come back to that in a minute, because that's an interesting strategy that you're talking about. We used the iPads and it was very painful recording them. I was like, let's do that again, record, and oh dear. And then the other thing that you're concerned about is the spelling. Because he's, well, not just in terms of his writing generally, but even in terms of spelling tests. He's not getting single words spelled correctly. So those are would you say those are the 3 key concerns? So tell me a little bit about the strategies that you've used so far and how that's impacting on his progress. So we've got every morning, 10-15 minutes we go through phonics. It seems quite long, but it's by the time you have a discussion and all the children are cheering and talking through it. So every day is structured. The first day I give them pictures and they use the phonics to think of what the word might be. And it also enables me to assess, okay, what words are they bringing up that are not related to the phonics. What I'm going to do now, Chanel, is talk through some strategies based on what you've told me. Looking at those priorities, talk you through some strategies that I'd like you to go away and try. And then we'll come back before the end of term and review those strategies to see how they're impacting on his progress. So the first thing I want to pick out is his difficulty following instructions, and it relates to your use of the task board. Now I think what you're using there is something that I would probably call more of an orientation board. So it's helping him to organise himself ready for the lesson. And it's giving him some prompts, or it's supporting his self-help skills. But I think because he's struggling to follow instructions, it's because he's struggling to remember the instructions, and it's because he's struggling to remember the sequence of steps within those instructions. So the order in which he does things. So what I'm going to suggest to you is adapt your use of the task board and create a task board for him, and ideally you would do this with him. so that he really owns it.
Yeah.
But the task board this time is going to chunk that task, that whole task, into very manageable steps. So it might be something like read the text, answer the questions, check your sentences.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we give spelling lists, the words are possibly words that he doesn't really need to articulate his own ideas.
Yeah.
So it's important to really work out what are the words he needs to express himself. Yeah. And there's a little strategy you can use to find out what those words could be. So what you get him to do is you get him to write independently, so unaided, for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, got ya.
And when he comes to a word that he thinks is he's not going to spell correctly, get him to underline it or highlight it. So by the time he's finished this piece of independent writing, you've got a piece of writing where he has indicated to you certain words that he knows he is not sure of. Now what you can then do is analyse that, because straight away you'll know the words that he is not sure of. But when you look at it, you'll also identify words that he's also spelt wrong, but he thinks he is sure of. And what I would suggest to you is the words that he thinks he knows that are wrong are possibly the words you want to tackle first. Because if he's unsure, then at least you know he's looking at the words and he's sensing that that's not quite right. But if he's writing words and he feels confident that he can spell them when actually they're not correct, I would say those are the things to tackle first. On the other hand, you might want to say, okay, let's do some quick fixes. Let's look at the words that he's not sure of and work on those. Or the words that he knows that he's not sure of and work on those. So you can do either. But I think what's important there is that we're generating words from his own writing, rather than giving him a set of 10 or 15 words that he may not be as meaningful for him. Actually, we're giving him the words he needs in order to express his own ideas. Okay, so what we're going to do now, Chanel, is we're going to just summarise the actions that you're going to do as a result of this chat. And then we'll give you a date, and then before the end of term, we'll come back and have a chat about how those interventions have gone. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to feed back to me what it is that we've discussed in terms of actions, and I'll jot them down so that you've got them written down. So let's start with, there were 3 or 4 strategies that you were going to try, weren't there? Can you remember what they were?
So the first one is to adapt the task board into more of a task, say specific, or whatever the task is that day. Catch him in the morning before the lesson and break it down into more manageable chunks. And we spoke about if it's a piece of writing, it will be first of all easier.
That's marvellous. You've got about 4 strategies to try. How do you feel about that?
No, absolutely fine, because in all fairness, I could put that into place with a couple of others as well, so it also helps me with other children that we've already identified has similar problems, but I've not actually got that in place for them, so it won't be
just for Bobby.
So in all fairness, it will take some time to kind of put it into place, but it's not just going to be for one person, it can be for others as well. So
that's marvellous, thanks Chanel.
No, fine.
So we've written up the actions for you, and then we'll set a date to come and talk about this before Christmas, before the end of term. But what I'll need you to do is to go back to your referral form where you originally wrote down the things that you tried and the impact.
Yeah.
And what I'd like you to do before we meet is to write down the impact of the strategies that we've asked you to try over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So come back having completed that.
Yeah.
So what we can then do is use that to work out if that's working for you, we need to do more of it. Or if it's not working, why isn't it working? And are there other things that we need to try? Do we need to take a different route?